The Galactic Confederation's survey vessel, Quantum Dawn, glided through the outer reaches of human space, its crystalline hull gleaming with the soft pulse of quantum engines. Captain Xerxes, her iridescent scales shifting in the ambient light of the bridge, stared at the sensor readings with growing amusement. "Another cluster of them," she announced to her crew, her mandibles clicking with barely contained mirth. "These humans have scattered their so-called defensive platforms throughout their entire territory." The platforms in question hung silently in the void, massive, angular constructs of metal and ceramic, their surfaces scarred by micro-meteorite impacts. No quantum signatures, no energy fields, just cold, dark metal against the starfield. First Officer Felix floated to her side, his tentacles undulating gently in the ship's artificial gravity. "Preliminary analysis confirms our initial assessment, Captain. These platforms appear to be purely mechanical in nature. They're using chemical propellants, physical ammunition, and," he paused, double-checking his readings, "analog targeting systems." The bridge crew exchanged knowing looks. The quantum distress signal pierced through subspace, echoing across Confederation territories. The Quantum Dawn's message was brief, but terrifying. "Unknown entities breaching galactic perimeter. Standard scans ineffective. Request immediate." The transmission ended abruptly. In the Confederation's Central Command, High Admiral Nexus watched in horror as the quantum visualization matrix showed the Quantum Dawn's signal vanishing. Not damaged, not destroyed, simply vanishing, as if it had never existed. "Status of our response fleet," he demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with anxiety. "7th Battle Group is entering the sector, Admiral," his aide reported. 12 quantum-class dreadnoughts, supported by 30 lighter vessels. The pride of the Confederation's fleet, each ship represented the pinnacle of quantum engineering. Their weapons could reshape space-time itself. Their defenses manipulated the fundamental forces of the universe. They were, by any measure, invincible. They lasted 6 minutes against the darkness. The battle, if it could be called that, was unlike anything the Confederation had ever witnessed. As the unknown vessels approached, every quantum system on the Confederation ships began to fail. Weapons refused to fire. Shields collapsed. Communication networks dissolved into static. The last transmission from the 7th Battle Group's flagship was haunting. "They're not destroying our systems. They are unmaking them." From her command center on Earth, General Chen watched the disaster unfold through mechanical sensors that remained completely functional. "Send the alert to all platform commanders," she ordered. Activation sequence Delta 9. Across human space, the supposedly primitive platforms began to move. Their metal hulls, far from being outdated, contained machinery that represented 30 generations of refined engineering. Each gear, each spring, each mechanical computer had been perfected through centuries of patient innovation. Dr. Harrison stood at a massive window overlooking an underground factory that stretched for kilometers. Rows of mechanical warriors, humanoid combat frames powered by advanced steam and hydraulic systems, stood ready for deployment. "We warned them," he said quietly. "We tried to tell the Confederation that quantum technology wasn't the answer to everything." In her office at the Confederation Embassy, Ambassador Sarah Rodriguez received the activation order and smiled grimly. For decades, she had played the role of a representative from a technologically backward species. She had endured the patronizing smiles, the barely concealed disdain. Now she opened a hidden panel in her desk and pressed a button that would reveal humanity's true face to the galaxy. The primitive defensive platforms suddenly demonstrated their actual capabilities. Mechanical transformations that would have seemed impossible began to occur. Panels shifted, revealing ranks of railguns that operated on purely physical principles. Analog targeting systems, immune to quantum interference, tracked the approaching enemy with perfect precision. On the bridge of the Confederation rescue vessel, Quantum Spear, Captain Lazara watched in disbelief as the human platforms came alive. "Those aren't defensive platforms," she whispered. "They're fortress ships." Deep in Confederation space, the enemy continued its advance, unmaking quantum technology with terrifying ease. But as they approached the human sectors, they encountered something unexpected. Resistance that didn't depend on quantum mechanics. The first volley from the human platforms utilized no exotic particles, no quantum entanglement, no zero-point energy. Instead, they fired physical projectiles accelerated to near-light speed by massive electromagnetic rails. The enemy's quantum-negating technology had no effect on these purely mechanical weapons. For the first time, the invaders were forced to evade. In the Confederation's Central Command, High Admiral Nexus received a communication from Earth. It was transmitted via modulated radio waves, technology so old that modern quantum encryption couldn't touch it. The message was simple. "The Silent Guardians are awake. We stand ready to assist. Humanity extends its protection to all Confederation worlds." As Nexus processed this offer, more human ships emerged from hidden docks throughout their territory. They looked nothing like the sleek quantum ships of the Confederation. These vessels were angular, armored behemoths that seemed to have been built for exactly this kind of war. Dr. Harrison's voice crackled over the radio waves. "Admiral, humanity never fell behind. We simply chose a different path. While the galaxy raced toward quantum supremacy, we perfected the art of mechanical warfare. We knew this day would come. We've been preparing for it for centuries." The true scale of humanity's deception and preparation was finally becoming clear. As the enemy approached human space, they were about to discover why some species chose to appear primitive not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. The Confederation War Council chamber buzzed with a mix of fear and fascination as Dr. Harrison stood before them. His primitive mechanical presentation device clicked and whirred, projecting images without using a single quantum particle. "Operation Cassandra," he began, "was conceived 300 years ago, when our first deep space probes detected traces of the entity you're now facing. We called them the Quantum Eaters." The assembled alien leaders leaned forward, their various anatomies tense with attention. High Admiral Nexus' crystalline form pulsed with a mix of emotions as Harrison continued. "Humanity stood at a crossroads then. We had discovered quantum technology, just as you all did. But we also discovered something else, evidence that we weren't the first civilization to face this threat." The mechanical projector clicked again, showing ruins of ancient civilizations, all quantum-based, all mysteriously vanished. These societies reached heights of quantum engineering that even the Confederation hasn't achieved. And they all disappeared when the Quantum Eaters found them. Ambassador Rodriguez stepped forward, no longer playing the role of an inferior species representative. "Our ancestors made a choice. Instead of pursuing quantum technology, we would master the physical world to degrees never before attempted. Every gear, every spring, every mechanical system would be refined until it matched or exceeded quantum efficiency." In orbit above them, the human fleet demonstrated this philosophy in action. The massive vessels moved with precision that seemed impossible for purely mechanical systems. Their weapons, railguns accelerating projectiles through electromagnetic fields, missiles guided by analog computers, armor designed through centuries of metallurgical science, represented the pinnacle of non-quantum engineering. "The platforms you mocked," Harrison continued, "contained technology you'd consider impossible without quantum mechanics. But we achieved it through different means. Our ships don't bend space-time. They master it through pure Newtonian physics." In the war room back on Earth, General Chen coordinated with the newly formed Joint Human Confederation fleet. The contrast between the two approaches was stark. The remaining Confederation ships gleamed with quantum energy, while the human vessels remained dark and angular, their power hidden within layers of mechanical sophistication. "Watch Sector 7, Chen ordered, pointing to a mechanical display. A group of Quantum Eater vessels had just emerged from deep space, their presence detectable only by the way they distorted normal space-time. The human response was immediate and devastating. Railguns fired synchronized volleys of projectiles, each round precisely calculated by mechanical computers. The quantum eaters, for the first time, found themselves facing weapons they couldn't simply unmake. "Your quantum technology is elegant," Harrison told the council, "but it has a fundamental weakness. It can be disrupted at the quantum level. Our technology, you'd have to break the laws of physics themselves to stop it." In space, the battle continued to unfold. Human vessels moved in formations that seemed random, but were actually calculated by vast mechanical computers hidden within mountain complexes on Earth. Each shot, each maneuver was part of a battle plan 3 centuries in the making. "The art of deception," Rodriguez explained, "isn't just about hiding your strength. It's about guiding your opponent's assumptions. We let the galaxy believe we were primitive because that belief served our purposes." The mechanical projector showed another image. Vast underground facilities where generations of humans had worked in secret, perfecting technologies that the rest of the galaxy had abandoned. Mechanical computers that rivaled quantum processors in speed. Materials science that created alloys stronger than quantum-reinforced metals. Propulsion systems that achieved near-light speed through pure electromagnetic force. "Every time your diplomats visited Earth," Harrison said, "every time you saw our primitive technology, you were seeing exactly what we wanted you to see. The real humanity was hidden, preparing, building." High Admiral Nexus finally spoke, his crystalline voice resonating with new understanding. "You weren't stagnating. You were evolving along a completely different path." "Exactly." Chen's voice crackled over the radio. "And now that path might be the only thing standing between the galaxy and extinction." As if to emphasize her point, another wave of quantum eaters emerged from deep space. But this time, they faced not just the quantum ships of the Confederation, but the full might of humanity's mechanical empire. The Silent Guardians were about to show the galaxy why sometimes the oldest technologies, refined to perfection, were the most formidable of all. The deception was over. The real war was about to begin, and humanity's greatest gambit would finally be put to the test. The void between stars erupted with the thunder of humanity's arsenal. Rail guns longer than city blocks accelerated projectiles to relativistic speeds. Mechanical targeting computers, their gears spinning in perfect synchronization, calculated trajectories that seemed to defy possibility. "Battle Formation Sierra." General Chen's voice echoed through radio channels. "Execute the clockwork protocol." The human fleet moved like a single organism, their formation shifting with mathematical precision. To the watching Confederation allies, it was like witnessing a dance choreographed by giants. Every ship knew its place. Every weapon found its mark, all without a single quantum transmission. Aboard the flagship Mechanical Dawn, Commander Elena Volkov watched her analog displays with practiced ease. "All units confirm mechanical synchronization," she ordered. "Prepare for coordinated strike." The quantum eaters had never encountered anything like this. Their ability to unmake quantum technology meant nothing against humanity's mechanical might. When they tried to disrupt human communications, they found only radio waves and laser signals. When they attempted to collapse human shields, they discovered layers of advanced composite armor instead. Deep within the Mechanical Dawn, the heart of the ship beat with a rhythm that had nothing to do with quantum physics. Massive steam engines, refined over centuries until they rivaled fusion reactors in efficiency, powered electromagnetic systems that could tear apart space itself through purely physical means. "Target locked," Volkov's weapons officer reported, his hands dancing across mechanical controls. "Solutions computed. Permission to fire granted." Chen's voice crackled over the radio. "Show them what the clockmakers built." The human fleet's response was devastating. Thousands of railguns fired simultaneously, their projectiles weaving impossible patterns through space. The quantum eaters found themselves facing not energy weapons they could absorb, but physical objects accelerated to speeds that bent reality through pure kinetic force. High Admiral Nexus, watching from his command ship, finally understood the true genius of humanity's approach. They're not just fighting with old technology, he realized. They've taken the fundamental principles of the universe and mastered them without quantum shortcuts. The battle unfolded like a symphony of steel and fire. Human ships moved in formations that seemed to anticipate the quantum eater's every move. When the enemy adapted to one tactic, the human fleet smoothly transitioned to another, their responses calculated by mechanical computers that couldn't be hacked or disrupted. Third wave incoming, Volkov announced. Multiple hostile signatures detected. But this time, the quantum eaters found themselves caught in humanity's trap. The seemingly random distribution of defensive platforms suddenly revealed its true purpose. As the enemy fleet advanced, they found themselves surrounded by a three-dimensional web of interlocking fields of fire. Activate the Archimedes array, Chen commanded. Across human space, massive mechanical constructs that had lain dormant for centuries came to life. These weren't weapons in the conventional sense. They were gravity manipulators that operated through purely mechanical means, using rotating masses and precisely calculated movements to bend space itself. The effect was catastrophic for the quantum eaters. Their ships, designed to neutralize quantum technology, found themselves caught in gravitational fields generated by purely physical means. They couldn't unmake the laws of physics themselves. Multiple enemy signatures destabilizing, Volkov reported, a hint of satisfaction in her voice. The mechanical solution is working. In the command center, Dr. Harrison allowed himself a small smile. 300 years of preparation, he murmured. 300 years of letting them think we were behind, when we were actually moving in a different direction entirely. The quantum eaters, for the first time in their long history of conquest, were forced to retreat. Their abilities, so devastating against quantum-based civilizations, proved ineffective against humanity's mechanical ingenuity. As the enemy fleet withdrew, leaving behind wreckage that would puzzle xenorchaeologists for centuries to come, the Confederation leaders watched in stunned silence. The supposedly primitive humans had just demonstrated warfare on a level they hadn't thought possible without quantum technology. Signal from the enemy fleet, Volkov announced. They're leaving galactic space entirely. The Symphony of Steel had played its first movement, and the quantum eaters had learned a harsh lesson. Sometimes the oldest technologies, refined to perfection, were the most formidable of all. Humanity's deception had not only saved them, it had saved the entire galaxy. 1 year after the Battle of the Mechanical Dawn, the Galactic Confederation had changed profoundly. In the Grand Hall of Unity Station, representatives from 100 species gathered to witness something unprecedented: the formal recognition of humanity as the guardians of galactic space. The same chamber that had once echoed with mockery of primitive human technology now housed an exhibition of mechanical marvels that defied conventional wisdom. Captain Zerixis, her scales now dulled with humility, stood before a display of human mechanical computing systems. To think, she murmured to senior researcher Vix, all this time we thought we were seeing their limitations, when we were actually seeing their greatest achievement. Vix nodded, his crystalline fingers tracing the intricate gears of a mechanical targeting computer. They didn't just master another path of technology, he said. They proved that true advancement doesn't always mean abandoning the old ways. At the center of the hall, General Chen and Dr. Harrison prepared to address the assembly. The presentation would be made using traditional mechanical projectors. No quantum technology required. It had become something of a symbol now, a reminder of the day humanity's deception saved the galaxy. Distinguished representatives, Chen began, her voice carrying naturally through the chamber's carefully designed acoustics. Today marks not just a celebration of victory, but a transformation in how we view progress itself. The mechanical projector whirred to life, showing images of the new Joint Defense Initiative. Across the galaxy, human engineers were working alongside Confederation scientists, teaching them the art of mechanical innovation that had been perfected over centuries. The quantum eaters taught us all a valuable lesson, Harrison continued. True resilience comes not from pursuing a single path of advancement, but from mastering multiple approaches. The future of galactic civilization will be built not on quantum technology alone, but on a fusion of all our achievements. In orbit above Unity Station, the first graduates of the new Human Mechanical Academy were conducting training exercises. Confederation officers learned to operate ships that combined quantum cores with mechanical backup systems, creating vessels that could function even if their advanced technology was compromised. Ambassador Rodriguez, watching from her seat, remembered all the years of playing the role of a technological inferior. The greatest victory, she whispered to herself, is the one that transforms your adversaries into allies. The exhibition included recovered debris from the quantum eater vessels, strange machines that had evolved to prey on quantum civilization. But they had encountered in humanity something they hadn't expected. A species that had deliberately chosen a different path, preparing for centuries for exactly this confrontation. From this day forward, Chen announced, the Silent Guardians will stand watch not just over human space, but over all civilized worlds. Not because we are superior, but because we chose to be different. Because we remembered what others forgot. That sometimes the oldest ways, perfected through dedication and wisdom, are the strongest. In the years that followed, the galaxy entered a new golden age. The integration of human mechanical expertise with Confederation quantum science led to innovations that neither civilization could have achieved alone. The human deception, born of foresight and patience, had evolved into something far greater, a legacy of collaboration and mutual respect. Deep in human space, the mechanical platforms continued their vigilant watch, no longer pretending to be primitive. They stood as monuments to human ingenuity and foresight, reminding the galaxy that true strength often lies not in the path most traveled, but in the wisdom to forge your own. And somewhere in the darkness between galaxies, the quantum eaters carried with them a new understanding, that not all civilizations could be unmade, that some forms of progress couldn't be undone, and that humanity's greatest weapon had never been their technology at all. It had been their capacity to think differently, to plan across centuries, and to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented strength. The legacy of the clockmakers would endure, a testament to the day when humanity's greatest deception became the galaxy's salvation.